Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm Sir Ray Hood. Today we're looking at Halloween Season 1, which came out in 2024. So yeah, this movie is, it's pretty damn great. The little series and shit is actually not a movie, but, it's a little Halloween little series and shit. And it's pretty damn great. It's basically, it's about Michael Myers returning back after the original trilogy that Ruff done already made on some other shit, but, yeah, no, that's what this is basically about, and I really like how this shit look and shit. It's very creative and shit, and these three main characters try to stop Michael and shit coming from his killing rampage and shit, and them people name is, Iron Man, Task, and I think Josh, so, yeah, but, this movie is pretty damn good and shit, but it's a series. I don't know why I keep on saying movie, but, yeah, overall, it's pretty damn good. I like it. But yeah, let's just get to the kills though. But how many people died in this movie as Michael Myers is coming back on his killing spree, but this time not in Haddonfield? Well, let's find out. Let's get to the kills. The movie begins with Iron Man and stuff and all that type of shit. So yeah, bro's just sitting here and shit, and then he finally gets up and shit and starts walking over to somewhere. And then next thing we know, we see Michael with an axe in his hand and shit. Then he turns around and just cause to seize him and shit. Then they just stare at each other for some reason. Then we get that time card and shit, which just looks pretty damn great and shit. So yeah, we see Iron Man and Taz talking, asking how each other is doing and shit. Then Iron Man tells Taz that he saw the shape and shit. So yeah,
I saw something. The shape. I think he's back.
Then Taz says, "What are you talking about?" And then I'm like, "You just told you the shape was coming back, bro. That's all." Then Iron Man gives Taz, one of them, recaps and shit about all the people he done killed like 3 years ago and shit. So yeah. And then bro falls down to the fucking ground for some reason and shit. So yeah. But after that, we get a black fade and shit. Then, we cut to Taz just walking somewhere and shit and all that type of stuff. Then he sees a Friday Part 7 mask on the ground and shit and freaks out about it and shit. So, yeah. Then we cut back to Taz and shit, walking somewhere else and shit and all that type of shit. So, yeah. Then bro goes into the dark room and shit and stuff. And he sees Jason and shit, mistaking him for Michael and shit. But right now, they're both just standing there and shit and all that type of shit. So yeah, and then Taz just keep on calling Jason Michael and shit and all that type of shit. So yeah, and then, he gets stabbed and all that type of shit. So yeah, anyway, Jason goes in slowly and shit. Then bro winds up on the ground and shit. So yeah, and then Jason just starts, looking over bro and shit and all that type of shit. So yeah, then we cut to John hiding and shit. And not one of the best hiding spots, but I guess it's something, I guess and shit. And I guess bro hears something and shit, turns over and sees if Michael's right there, and he is and shit with that axe and shit. Then bro swings and shit and misses somehow and shit and all that type of shit. So yeah, then I guess bro tries fighting him and shit, just gets knocked down and shit. So yeah, well, at least bro tried, at least. We just see him on the ground somewhere and shit, and Michael just looking at him, and bro's about ready to kill bro and shit and all that type of shit. So yeah, but he just pushes bro back and shit and all that type of shit. So yeah, and then bro gets up and shit, and then it cuts right back to Iron Man and shit, where you see Taz run away one more time, and then then Jason comes up behind bro and shit. So yeah, and this makes Iron Man get up and shit, and freaking him out too and shit. So yeah, and bro is so freaked out to where he keeps looking at bro and shit. Then Iron Man runs back to Task and shit. Then we see Michael stalking Jason and shit. So yeah, and then they start facing off and shit, just standing there looking at each other and shit. So yeah, then we meet back up with Iron Man and Task and shit. Then Task mentions how he let Michael out and shit. And then, Jason comes up behind bro and shit out of nowhere, strangling bro and shit, and just manhandling him and shit until, he drops him and shit. And then Michael sneaks on Iron Man and shit and grabs him and shit until then we see Task try to get away from Jason and shit and all that type of shit. Then Jason says to step closer to bro and shit and all that type of stuff. And that's when we see bro to come in and save the day and knock out Michael and shit. Then we get a black ass fade and shit to see Michael on the ground and shit by them stairs with the axe. And then Jason comes up and shit, and they fucking just look each other in the face and shit and all that type of shit. So yeah, but until Michael throws Jason on the ground and shit, and Jason gets back up and gets his lick back, then they start fighting each other and shit and all that type of shit. So yeah, and Jason gets on the ground one more time again and shit and all that type of shit. Then his mask gets knocked off to reveal that face. And that's when Michael grabs Bro's machete and shit, looks at his mask and shit, and then Michael grabs Task and shit randomly and shit. Then we cut to get some shots outside and stuff and all that type of stuff. So yeah, and then now we cut to this stranger walking and shit and all that type of stuff. So yeah, just yelling out random shit too. And then he's stopped by Michael and shit, holding that same weapon that Jason used in part 7 to kill that one lady and shit. So yeah, and we finally get some kills in this bitch when fucking Michael slashes Bro and shit. So yeah, and then you know Michael gives him that classic Michael Myers head tilt and shit. And then it cuts back to these two and shit. And right now they're locked up and shit. Then it cuts back to John and shit and all that type of shit. Seems safe and sound right now and shit until we see Michael and shit, you know, pops out and shit, and you know, just keep on following him for some reason and shit. And then Bro just falls for no damn reason and shit. And then Bro gets choked out and shit. So yeah, John somehow finally breaks out of that shit. So yeah, we get a black fade and shit. And then, you know, John finds out where his friends are and shit and all that type of stuff. So yeah, and Michael is also somehow there. Then Double M finds out that they're gone and shit, and you know, he goes out to go find them. And they're hiding someplace right now and shit because, you know, they got away from Bro. And Michael comes back wielding that axe to his best ability. Then he throws it at Task and shit. So yeah, the next thing we see Michael all the way up here somehow. So I don't know how the hell he got up there, but I guess now he's just fucking with them. Then John volunteers to go up there and shit. Then we see John making his way up there and shit. So yeah, then you know Bro finally makes it up there. Then we see Michael Myers holding another part 7 weapon and shit, out to stab Josh with it and shit. And then Bro just kicks him off. So yeah, launching him down there. And Iron Man asks and sees if he's okay or not and shit. And then we see Leo finally coming back and shit. And Leo also mentions how he can help them with Michael. And they make fun how he sounds.
My name's Leo. I think I could help with your problem.
Why the fuck do you sound like that?
Then we get this cool ass shot of Michael and shit, you know, coming into the camera and shit. So yeah, Michael is there with them now and shit. And with Leo going up to Bro and shit, I guess trying to fight him, Michael tries to slash him and shit and drops his weapon. And then Leo just kicks Michael to the ground and shit. So yeah, till Michael comes back with this Superman kick and shit. So yeah. And since when Michael started getting so athletic like that? Then we cut back to Leo still falling from that shit and all that type of stuff. Then Task goes sees if he's alright, and then John starts fighting with Michael and shit. So yeah, then Michael gets him to the ground and shit, and then you know he just kind of stands over until he starts beating the shit out of Bro and shit. Then Michael just throws him like he wasn't even nothing anyway. And Leo comes from behind and stabs Michael and gets him to the ground.
Did we just kill Michael Myers?
And they all just stand there, I guess, just thinking about the shit for a second and stuff. Michael comes back out for one last time and kills Iron Man and shit. Then we get a black fade, and then they all find Iron Man just, you know, strung up there and shit. So yeah, that's pretty fucked up and shit. And then this also ends with them finding him strung up there, and yeah, that's it for this. How many people die as Michael Myers is coming back on his killing rampage and shit, and Jason coming into this shit as well, and also Michael Myers surviving? Well, let's find out, and let's get to the numbers. By my count, only 2 people died in Halloween Season 1. The victims included only 2 guys, so yeah, that gives us that big ass blue pie chart and shit, and we actually seen this same count and gender breakdown in Psycho Part 1 and that Psycho remake, which came out in 1998. So yeah, and with a series with, you know, 6 episodes, that leaves us with a kill on average every 3 minutes each. So yeah, that's pretty damn fast though. I'll give the Golden Chainsaw for the coolest kill. I guess I could go to Iron Man because his kill was just way better, and you know, I like how Michael, you know, strung him up and shit. And I guess Dom Machete for lamest kill, that can go to, you know, that random ass guy that got stabbed and shit like that. So yeah, but that's it though. This shit came out in 2024, and if you like it, and if you like this video, if another season come out, I will do it. I'll make this video do it. But yeah, and I'm finna start coming back. Be consistent and shit. I know I wasn't as consistent this summer as I wanted to be, but it's okay though. But Yeah, but yup. But until then, though, I'll see y'all. But until then, I'm sorry. This has been the Kill Count. Thank you guys so much for watching and stuff, and thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah, it really means a lot. And thank y'all so much for 140 subscribers or 240 subscribers and shit. But thank you guys so much for that and shit. Keep on subbing, liking videos and shit. And if this video do good, I'll cover season 2. And I will have a kill count coming out next Friday as well. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna cover though. But but until then, be good people.